Ever wonder why your smartphone videos never look as good as the pros? Well, that's because you're using the wrong gear. Take your smartphone video game to the next level with a Moment wide-angle lens. Its wide field of view is a perfect balance that gives you a crystal clean shot without a fisheye view. The price just dropped, so check out the link in the video description to get your hands on this must-have gear. So we're going to jump right in and take a look at some of the best settings to use for your phone with the Osmo Mobile. And right now we're inside the DJI Go app, which is my chosen app that I use with the Osmo Mobile. You can actually choose to use another third-party app called Filmic Pro, and on occasion I do use it with the Osmo, but I find that the integration between the DJI app and the hardware is a lot better using the Go app and Osmo Mobile together versus using Filmic Pro and DJI Go. So first off, I'd recommend that as one of your best settings to get the best video. So as we look in the interface here with the camera, you can see my Osmo is not connected, but we still have access to all the meaningful features that we would want. So starting off on the upper left-hand side, of course, you've got your film versus camera mode. Make sure it's checked to film mode with the slider to the bottom. And then the next thing you're going to look at, these are just some of the basics here, is going into the film mode. And you're going to have four choices, as you can see. You've got standard, slow motion, time-lapse, and M time-lapse. For any standard video, choose the standard mode versus slow-mo, and of course you know what's going to happen there. And time-lapse is just a basic time-lapse. And M time-lapse is a really handy feature where you can set that anchor points and the Osmo Mobile will follow it. So it makes for some great panning time-lapse shots that I use quite frequently, but for basic video, choosing standard is going to be your best here. And looking down the left side, there's really not much more in terms of settings that we're going to address. So we'll move over to the right rail where you've got some settings as well. And then you've got a small camera setting in here where you're going to choose all of the basic settings that really are the meat of this video. So starting off first off with resolution. When you jump in here, and I'm using an iPhone 7 Plus, but when you jump in here, you're going to have 720p 30 FPS, 1080p 60 and 30 FPS, as well as 4K and 30 frames per second. Now, depending upon the quality of video, I would suggest doing anywhere from 1080p 30 frames to 4K 30 frames. Now, why to choose 30 over 60 is traditional cinematic videos are shot in anywhere from 24 to 30 frames per second. That delivers the motion blur that we're accustomed to, and it's just that look that you're familiar with when watching a movie. So if you do want that similar sort of feeling to your video, go ahead and choose 30 FPS. You can then decide whether you like 4K or 1080p. Moving on from resolution and down the menu, DJI has added a new feature within the Go app, which is this beautify feature. Admittedly, I haven't used it, but looking at the reviews online, I generally wouldn't suggest using it. But what it does when you toggle it on here is it layers on its own analysis and smooths out your skin, tends to get rid of some wrinkles and so forth. Probably what you've seen with auto-correcting picture apps where you can smooth out and get rid of any blemishes and so forth. I do not use Beautify, though it is a feature you can choose to use. Let me know in the comments if you found it useful. And then moving on from there, we move to white balance. Got to get the right white balance with your shots. If you're indoors versus outdoors, if you're using a tungsten light indoors, and fixing that color temperature is going to be important. But choosing the presets for many times will get you what you need. If you want to get really granular with the details and so forth, go ahead and set your custom white balance. So for the grid feature, this is just up to personal preference. Right now I've got it set to none, but one that I do find useful is just the basic grid lines. That's going to break your screen up into thirds and give you a better idea of how you're composing your shot on the run. And the last one within this menu is choosing the right flash setting. My preference is to always turn the flash off because for the most part, with smartphone cameras, be it video or photos, the flash doesn't work that great. And you can see this in low light or dark rooms. When you take a picture with the flash on, they have an awful exposure. And you're going to get that same sort of effect, whether it's a late evening or shooting video in a dark spot. You're really best to look at some sort of alternative lighting source than the flash on your smartphone. So moving on from the camera menu to one option down, you'll see when clicking on it, you have a few options to choose. These are important ones, especially scene mode. You have two options, walk and sport. I tend to keep it to walk, but what you're going to get with sport is the gimbal, the stabilizer, is going to be more reactive in sport mode. But if you're looking for those smooth sort of panning shots or don't want things as jumbly, choosing walk mode is going to be a better option. And moving back, the last one you see is pitch lock. Right now it is turned off, and typically that's how I record videos. What you're going to have when you turn pitch lock on, it's going to lock the pitch of your Osmo Mobile. So that means when you push the Osmo Mobile forward or pull it back, normally you'd get a motion where the gimbal goes forward or looks upward, but in pitch lock mode it's going to stay flat and forward. There are some uses where this is a good feature to have, but for the most part, I stay out of pitch lock mode because I do like to have both the left and right pan and also the up and down movement for the gimbal. And those are the basics of some of the best Osmo Mobile settings. You can see they're pretty straightforward, and for the most part, you can rely upon presets to get the job done. Now, if you want to get into more detail and change your white balance, you do have those capabilities, but you're going to find that the app is somewhere in between a very basic native app on the iPhone versus a DSLR, and I would even say on the lower end of that spectrum is what you're going to get in terms of capabilities within the Go app, and you're going to get some high quality videos out of it, especially with the stabilizing effect of the Osmo Mobile. So I hope you guys liked this video. Go ahead and hit that like button and feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed it as well. Leave a comment down below and let me know some of the best settings you're using for Osmo Mobile, or if you prefer using a third-party app like Filmic Pro. Thanks guys. See you in the next one.